stream of consciousness.
I love humanity. I'm also not hungry, but it's past dinner time. It's very sunny till late. I think it's just after 9 now. It is 9, and darkness is just beginning to fall. I love that very much about living further north in the latitudes, that the sun stays up till so late in the summer. I think I love it gets dark so early in the winter too. But it also makes me not want to eat till very late at night. It's that high energy in the summer. Things don't really want to stop. They just keep going. And it's not even summer yet. We're almost there. It's really the longest day is the first day of summer. I don't really know when midsummer happens. Is midsummer the actual solstice, or is midsummer like the middle of summer, like July? I don't know. I could easily look it up too. Maybe the information would be conflicting. I was learning about conspiracy theories this evening when the sun was still up. And what I learned from the cancer physicist, who's also a conspiracy theory expert, is that people who are prone to believing conspiracy theories are also prone to believing two totally conflicting and contradictory ideas at the same time. So believing that somebody is both alive and dead in two separate conspiracy scenarios. When you are prone to believing in conspiracy theories, you're more likely to believe in that both of those scenarios are true, rather than one being more likely than another, or both being bullshit. It's easy to believe things that aren't true. It's easy to fall victim to that when you urgently and desperately need something to believe in. My psychiatrist is, she calls me last week late. She's usually late. I don't mind. And normally it's a face-to-face interaction, but desperate times call for modifications to the official Ministry of Health guidelines. And she calls me and she's like, "I'm sorry I'm late." I'm like, "That's okay, no worries." She's like, "I was watching a YouTube video." I'm like, okay. And she's like, "You need to write this down." And she gives me this information of this scientist, and she used to work for the CDC, but she's a whistleblower, and she's revealing that COVID is a conspiracy for pharmaceutical companies to make money. And I'm listening to her describe this, and just hearing that kind of like bare outline, I'm like, I don't think this is true. And I started walking my doctor through all the reasons that this conspiracy theory is a conspiracy theory and definitely not true. Probably the most easy one to point out being that, like, every other industry on the planet, including oil and gas, under no circumstances wants a pandemic where all exchange of capital has for the most part been frozen. Like the pharmaceutical companies are not that powerful. Also, all resources have been diverted to the COVID vaccine. Like, nobody's going to be able to make money off of some like orphan treatment that they're just going to price gouge people on, which is so much simpler. But anyway, we talked through that one, and she eventually sort of conceded, especially when she got a text from one of her other doctor friends, who my doctor is part of a group of other doctors, and I guess it's a Facebook group or something where they just like share memes and things like that. And she had posted the video being like, "Is this true?" Because I think she knew that it also was like very extreme. what this video was positing. And she got a text message from one of her friends being like, no, 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 no. The woman is like a notorious anti-vaxxer whose research has been like uniformly discredited. She was like, oh, okay. And I was like, see? Don't you feel better? And she did. She did feel a lot better after that. She's really not been taking the coronavirus outbreak very well at all. I think it's really hit her hard. Not the virus itself. I hope she never gets sick. She's great. But just the whole existential thing of what's happening now. And it's also extra weird because like it's not like this woman hasn't lived through all kinds of crazy stuff. She was not born in Canada. And like it's been very clear she feels lucky to be here. But for some reason this is really kind of blowing her mind. But other people I've talked to who've lived through more localized pandemics of like different types of diseases or even war, bizarrely enough, I've from more than one person heard that this is worse, which is really intense. That's really intense. None of these people are sick, which is a blessing. That is truly a blessing. I asked a friend what she thought about my psychiatrist, and she was like, well, honestly, like, I don't know if I want my psychiatrist to be somebody who I feel I'm smarter than them. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. But I thought about it some more later, and I kind of came to the conclusion that like my psychiatrist is like any other professional. She's like an accountant or a lawyer. Like, what is her job? Her job is to prescribe drugs. And like I gotta say, it's probably not the worst thing in the world to have a psychiatrist who's highly skeptical of pharmaceutical companies. I feel like that's, like your GP, you'd like them to be a vaccine advocate. Your psychiatrist, you probably don't mind that they're skeptical of new drugs. Not vaccines, new drugs. Everybody loves vaccines. That's not the problem. But I don't know if it's a question so much of being smarter as just being like a professional and good at this one aspect of what she does, because I'm not like the self-improvement aspect of that has, I think, for the most part, been like reasonably achieved. I'm not expecting to become like emotionally and psychologically some kind of like superhero who is like it's like sort of like verbal nootropics. I don't think that's really what I'm aiming for or what I need. I don't think like anybody really needs that. Like I don't need to like plumb the depths of my psyche. I think that that's not, like, sure, I don't know if I need like a kind of like ping pong partner for that though. It's, some people do. I don't think that I need that. And apparently, like, it's also, like, really normal to kind of just sort of, like, maybe not age out of that, but it's, like, I definitely don't really need to check in that often, except for maybe, like, a blood test every now and then. But it's a very funny relationship. People and their doctors. It's very, like, I don't know, I feel like you probably want to know yours, or at least have like some sense that they're interested in you as a human being. I think that's really important. I guess there's the people who are kind of like just really good, like, I don't know, like just really good at looking at like the different spots on your skin and telling you what they are. But like, do you really want that narcissist doctor who like thinks they know everything better? That's probably not, I don't know, if they're fallible too, right? And of course, the medical profession and everyone in it is really having a moment right now. It's very, if anything happens to you other than a COVID related thing, my friend pointed out her sister was in the hospital for kidney failure in the past 2 weeks. you will go to the hospital and all the nurses and all the doctors and all the staff will be trying to figure out if you also have coronavirus. Like, how close can they get to you? How likely is it that, like, your entry into their pure facility is going to cause an outbreak? I don't blame them for that feeling at all. Meanwhile, the janitors and the people who actually have to clean up the disgusting COVID-filled mess in the room after somebody dies, those people are still making minimum wage, no benefits. It's great. They are all heroes. Some people get better hero pay than others. Oh well. That's fine. The CN Tower is lit up like a candle tonight. It's kind of a little fiery. It's all orange. Don't know what that stands for, but did you know that you can call them or email them and reserve a date and get them to put up a special color just for you? They try to reserve it for nonprofits or for special community dates, dates that mean something in the calendar to a community or the whole community. I don't know if the whole community ever has any consensus on special dates, but we can assume that they do. No, we can't assume that at all. You can't assume everybody agrees on a special day. That's terrible. I would never assume that. Some people might totally hate my special day or find it insignificant. You can try and convince everybody. As a small child, and maybe medium child, I really wanted my birthday to just be uniformly a special day for everyone. For fun. We would all have fun on that day. But I don't think I could convince any organization to broadcast in any sort of major public-facing way that it's my birthday, except for calling up the TV station. In Toronto, that would be CP24, the 24-hour news station. But there are equivalents in absolutely every city and mid-sized market in North America, at least. And I could give them a photo of me and a little statement. I don't know how many sentences you get. 1 to 3, I think, if I was in charge of that, if I was the producer, that's what I would give. And it would say, "Happy birthday to Zizi today, with lots of love from everybody who loves and knows her." And I would probably wake up just to watch that. It's maybe an old lady thing to do. It's not for me right now. That's for me when I'm in my 80s and need to fool myself. I think a lot of people living alone in a room are self-aware enough to know when they need to fool themselves on something. What are we fooling ourselves about today? What are you fooling yourself about? I think we all need, in life in general, some fiction to get us through. But what is it today? Is the fiction I am completely safe from contracting the coronavirus? Is the fiction everything is going to be just fine? Because that's the one I'm telling myself. But also not an unreasonable fiction to tell. Because the alternative, I guess, if you're constantly telling yourself that this shit's fucked up and it's not okay and it's not going to be okay and you're not okay, then you're probably going to make bigger mistakes, I would think. But maybe just in the same spectrum as being too cocky about it. If there's the thing of everything's going to be fine and everything is fine right now. I was also learning about sports today. And the sports guy from Sports Illustrated, who is an expert in sports, he was saying is so interesting. He's like obviously an extremely intelligent man, which was, I never would have expected that, but I do know that Sports Illustrated has had some pretty incredible journalism in the past. And the sportsman was saying, he's like, well, like the NBA is actually like the audience skews younger, it's much more diverse. So for them, like, they don't really feel any pressure to put their players into harm's way when it comes to COVID, and they're fine taking it easy with the season. But then he's like, the NHL, on the other hand, not NHL, sorry, the NHL is whatever, we've got our own thing in Canada. The NFL, football, American football, the president will probably order football back into play when their season starts in September. And then he's like, he can't actually order anybody to do anything, but there will be pressure from the White House to get football started. And that's terrible. I don't know. Like, football is obviously a terrible thing. Who am I to judge? I'm not American. I don't have their core values. I'm not subject to all of the terrible things that they're subject to as Americans. So I can't really say anything about that. But they do an incredible thing. I learned about the NFL, which is just like amazing, just like so incredible. They have a annual, I guess it's their draft, but it's really insane. Like it's like horse trading or something. They have all these little stations that the prospective players go through, and to demonstrate their like physical strength or quickness or stamina or whatever it is you need to be an NFL person. They measure your hands, like they'll measure the relative size of your body parts, and they'll also measure your hands to make sure that they're a minimum size so that you can hold the football and maybe catch it easier. But the best test they give them is something called the Wonderlic test. And it sounds so American, it is so American. It's a test that was developed to determine intellect under pressure. So you have, I think it's 10 minutes to answer 50 questions. Spoiler alert, it is very culturally specific. So if you are not American or like somebody like immersed in a really specific American context, you're definitely not going to do as well as you would have if you had that background. But it's all kinds of stuff like there's math, there's word stuff, there's facts, like just kind of like facts. Answer this with like what you think the fact is. I think it's a multiple choice question. Yeah, it's a multiple choice question, so that takes some of the pressure off because you can always just point at it. And it's out of 50. And it was invented to figure out like who is executive material for your corporation, and also for like who should be a fighter pilot in the Air Force. And it's a weird test. You can take it online if you want to find out how likely you are to become an executive or a fighter pilot. But the weirdest part about this test is that they're not actually looking for how high you score. They want you to score in this sweet spot range where you're not so stupid that you won't be able to remember plays, but you're not so smart that you're going to start questioning the judgment of your coach. Apparently Colin Kaepernick scored high. And there was one guy they had who was like, I think the highest score ever was a guy who got 49 out of 50. He might have been the Harvard guy. Might have been this other guy. And he was not like a bright light of the NFL, but he did pretty good. I don't know why they let him in. He must have been quite a specimen if they let him in with his 49 out of 50 Wonderlic score. I wonder if after his NFL career, he went on to become an executive or a fighter pilot. Both of which are jobs that I like in the abstract, but I don't really like heights unless they're attached to a kite. Or actually, I really do like being in tall buildings, as long as there's like a little lip at the edge, so it's not like a floor to ceiling window. Other than that, I hate heights. But yeah, I don't know. A fighter pilot. I heard it's cold in those ships. I also heard that they have a little in the American. What's the one? The Stingray. That's not what it's called. The stealth bomber. That really cool looking UFO black airplane. Whatever it is, it's so cool looking. It's a 3-man crew, and they have a special compartment in there where you change. And I forget exactly why that's like critical enough to put in what is obviously a very like space conserving design, but there's like a spot for you to change, and you're in that thing for a long time is part of it, because like the stealth bomber, I guess you're going to fly from Colorado to Iraq or some country that you probably have no idea why you're bombing it, and then drop a clearly very strategically targeted bomb, just a single strategic bomb. That's all. But there's like a change compartment where you change. Is that I really hope that that's the ship where they like send another ship to refuel it in the middle of the air, and so it's kind of like these two airplanes fucking in the sky. Cool. It's cool. The engineers who designed that. What a cool thing to design. I bet you they loved it. They're just like sitting there with their like pencils, because this is before they had like AutoCAD. They're sitting there with their pencils and like so focused, just kind of twirling the pencil around with the compass, and then like asking the engineer a couple feet over or whatever, like, hey, what do you think about this as like the fuel casing? They're like, oh, I like that, that's good. Is that connected to the like the hose? And like, oh yeah, the hose goes there. What if we made the hose entirely out of steel? Oh, I do like that idea. I don't know, whatever. This is fun times. Fun times in the military. I'm sure all those people know what they're doing. It's like that DARPA guy. A lot of them are actually like really self-aware about all the freaky stuff they're up to, and the rest of them are just trying to be good Americans. And that's probably how most organizations work, I would imagine. They a handful of people are really aware of what's going on, and everyone else just follows orders. But maybe not. There's like, I don't know, there's the utopian ideal of that we're all going to work together, and like no bosses, and like even if there's a project leader, like everybody's input matters, and like we're all skilled. We're all pulling our own weight. That's why I like working alone or on projects where we're all skilled and we're all pulling our own weight. Isn't that nice? Well, I pulled out the face massager, so I think I'm going to go do that now.